Welcome everybody to our 2018 Roselle Park Council debate. We have two council races this year for the 2nd Ward and the 5th Ward. Due to circumstances with the 2nd Ward candidates, one of our candidates had a medical appointment that was canceled at the last minute and was then unable to participate in the debate tonight. Both of our candidates, 2nd Ward candidates, chose to not debate tonight. That was their decision, not the decision of the committee. So we have our 5th Ward candidates debating tonight. Just a few ground rules. Our emergency exits are in the back through the hallway. That was not mentioned at our last debate. We will be going through a format of questions that will be asked by our high school, Roselle Park High School debate team. They worked really hard writing the questions for our candidates tonight, and they will be the ones asking the questions. The moderators and panelists will be managing the timing. The students will be asking the questions. Before our intermission, we have question cards in the back. Kathy, if you can hold up the cards so everybody knows where you are. Kathy is in the back with the question cards. Audience members are invited and encouraged to write their own questions. At our intermission, the panel will go upstairs, review the questions, and come back down and ask 2 more questions of our candidates that were submitted by the audience. We have already selected the order in which the students will ask their questions. The audience is asked to please maintain decorum during the debate. Applause and other audience reaction should be limited to the start and the conclusion of each debate. Cell phones and all other electronic devices should be turned off or placed in silent mode. No disruptive behavior will be permitted. Any disruptive behavior will be cause for removal from the room. Okay. By way of introduction, my name is Jenny Lichtenwallner. I'm a member of the debate committee. I've lived in Roselle Park for 13 years. We have our timekeeper, Jessamine Dukes. We have Deborah Singleton, who was advising the students and being a little backup support for them while they're up here on the stage. Mr. Silverlight, who is the debate coach and also did a lot of planning with the students and with the debate committee. And each student will now introduce themselves to you.
Hi, my name is Natalie Trubiano, and I'm a senior at Roselle Park High School.
Hello, I'm Zach Vargas. I'm a junior at Roselle Park High School.
Hi, my name is Rachel Leone, and I am a sophomore at the Roselle Park High School.
Hi, I'm Megan Mooney, and I'm a senior at the Roselle Park High School.
Audience members also reminded that since this is a public building, all hats are to be removed to show respect for the government of this town. We will now begin with our opening statements. Mr. Matthew will go first, followed by Mr. Shipley.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know my name is Rob Matthew. I really thank you for coming here because I really want everybody in this room to sit here with my opponent and I to really go over what our vision is for Roselle Park. As a first-time homeowner here, I have a vested interest in the direction that our town goes with regards to everything from development to schools. I think those are the 2 most important and pressing issues that are happening here because we are at a pivotal point where we have few developments that have been approved and we have many in the pipeline. And what I'm here to say is I want to offer my educational, my professional experience for the betterment of the community so that I can one day raise a family here that could be in schools that are top-notch quality, that they still are, and to make sure the makeup of our community is what we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Roselle Park debate team and organizers. 3 years ago, I never imagined that I would be an elected official, let alone the first black councilman and openly gay man on council. It has been an honor and privilege to serve as your 5th Ward Councilman, and more so to be a part of this august body known as Mayor and Council, where I have shared in the making of decisions that determine the health and prosperity of our home and the quality of the life for all of us who share this home we call Roselle Park. During my term as councilman, I have served as finance chair, municipal services chair, served on multiple committees, as well as working with groups in the high school, mentoring, and fundraising for our marching band and the Gay Straight Alliance, and a steadfast advocacy for the arts in our community. This year, we are making headway with the partnership with Keene University, a professional economic development director, and smart planning initiatives to help Roselle Park attract new businesses, rateables, and grants for the future. My campaign promise was that I would be a voice for the residents. I said I will speak up if you back me up, and I've spoken up for transparency, more public meetings on major redevelopment, and spearheaded the changes in our public meetings, making more information available before we vote to give you an opportunity to voice your questions and concerns. And I look forward to a civil and open dialogue between myself and Mr. Matthew, with the hopes of providing information to the voters and to our students.
I'll remind our audience members that hats are not to be worn in this room during this debate. We will now begin with our questions. Our panelists will ask a question directed at one candidate. One candidate will have a chance to answer first, so we'll have a 2-minute response time. The other candidate will have a 2-minute response time, and then each candidate will have a 1-minute rebuttal time to the previous statements made. Okay. Natalie, go ahead.
One of the town's biggest concerns has been the abandoned movie theater. This is a prime commercial space that can be used to generate tax revenue and create jobs. It is known that this property is privately owned, and that seems to be the holdup on any positive action. The use of eminent domain is used all the time for the betterment of a community. With the deterioration of this building and the positive aspects that would come from using this space, why hasn't the town used eminent domain to take ownership of this building? And would you and your team consider eminent domain to obtain this property?
Well, eminent domain is usually, in my opinion, something you should do for last resort, because it can be considered government overreach, because you're forcing a private owner, which we live in a country that believes in private property rights, to basically, do what the government wants. While I understand, that property has been an eyesore for a long time, and I am in complete agreement, I think it's up to a good leader to fill in the holes where government can, to incentivize them to build something there that would be pragmatic. A movie theater doesn't seem to be something that is pragmatic, so in my opinion, I don't think that would ever happen. But I've stated this before. I think housing actually would be something that could be added there, because it would definitely be able to help the businesses below, which, as a person who really, cherishes the small business community, I think that would be something that could help revitalize that whole building and help the businesses below thrive and make that whole building an eyesore, no longer an eyesore.
I would definitely like to see this theater refurbished, rehabbed, and reopened. It's a gem for this community. It's historic, and this needs to be done. Presently, the owner, as we know, they've been waiting for the development across the street before they do something. The building is in serious disrepair, and that needs to be done before anything can happen. I do agree that I think eminent domain is a little far-reaching, but if it comes to that, it's something I think that if that's the only answer, that something should be done for public safety and also to move the town ahead. I also would like to say one of the key things is we have an economic development director, and that is someone who is going to be working to get that theater back, to help get this project moved ahead. And I encourage everyone to go on Tuesday the 30th to meet with our economic development director, Ms. Beth Ann McDonald, and ask questions as we pursue this and move Roselle Park ahead with this movie theater. That's a great idea.
There's no follow-up, but each candidate has 1 minute to respond to the other candidate's answers.
Go first. So, I would have a question regarding the economic development coordinator. A lot of times when properties stay stagnant, I don't see economic development tactics as something that would necessarily bring it back to life. I mean, could you explain to me exactly, in what specific ways she would help have this property redeveloped? Because that's more of a real estate thing.
I think an economic development director in her capacity would be someone who would have a talk with the owners in terms of some ideas, in terms of moving them ahead. It hasn't been done in several years and several administrations, and I think this is the time to do it. And I think this person, it's not just in terms of not only bringing businesses in, but to also give these people some ideas in terms of what to do with it, how to move ahead with it. She's got a proven track record with other towns, and I think this is one avenue to go with. No.
The lights at the high school field were deemed unsafe and needed to be removed a few years ago. Since then, lights are powered by generators. Oh, my bad, I'm sorry. Since then, lights that are powered by generators need to be used. Obviously, using these lights are much less costly than installing new lights, but nevertheless, they are still expensive and not a permanent solution. What do you see as a solution to this issue? Do you see this problem going on indefinitely, or can you identify a way to have new lights installed? Additionally, do you ever see a turf field being installed at our high school? If so, how can that be done, and what is the time frame?
Well, while the issue that you're speaking of is a Board of Ed issue, we as council need to work together with the Board of Ed and have conversations about this. And we as a council, we've already started this conversation with the Board of Ed to help secure a Green Acres grant. And this is something that would require that conversation between the council, the Board of Ed, but mainly also the community to make all this happen. And we've tried to look into overall field, there's one issue too to look at, an overall field condition in terms of the turf field. The bottom line is that we need to have meetings between Board of Ed, the council, and the community to bring about a Green Acres grant. That's a possibility in terms of raising the money to be able to put the lights in and possibly do the turf field. And the thing is, I ask the students, if you're really sincere about this happening, I really encourage you to have a voice in this, to speak up about it. And feel free to come to myself or any other council person for some guidance. I'd be glad to work with you on this.
So I definitely think that lights should be fixed. That's a very important thing. My solution would be is to work with the county. As I don't know if you already know or not, but 14% of our taxes go to the county. And in my opinion, Roselle Park doesn't get a big piece of that. We need to work with the freeholders, which are the governing body of the county, who dispense these funds, to get grant money to redo the lights. I've heard through the grapevine that actually we were kind of close to doing that. And one big reason why I'm here running is I want to provide a new leadership to be able to actually get that done, because that's the right way of doing it. I do not want to do what I see a lot in this municipality, which is go straight to the homeowner, put the onus on the homeowner, and just possibly raise your taxes. That happens way too much in Roselle Park, way too much. We need to start looking at different avenues of funding to really start being able to fix the problems that we have here. So that's basically the reason why I'm here to run, because we need a new way of doing things. We need to start looking out the box, not just add expenses and tell the homeowners, hey, well, we only increased it this much.
Okay, we have a 1-minute rebuttal for each candidate.
In my term here, we have at least, I'm really excited that we have reached this point where we are really moving ahead, moving the town ahead, and making some moves whereby we are really sitting in a position where we can get the grants, the money to really bring this town forward. While it's a possibility to ask the county, but that's all I hear is go to the county, go to the county, go to the county. And what I really see is, in some cases, selling this town to the county. This project is possible with the initiative that I spoke about the first time. And it's not about putting the onus on the taxpayer. It's about the community, our bodies, like the Board of Ed and the mayor and council coming together to make these things possible, to look for these grants, to look for these initiatives that will make this type of effort possible. And I want to see those lights come back on, and I don't see any reason why we can't make that happen and do this without putting the onus on the taxpayer. Thank you.
Oh, I get the rebuttal? I mean, the grant that Dostis mentioned is also a great avenue. As I said, we have to look at funding options from everywhere. So I'm not saying that that is not a funding option, but the county too, and other avenues. It has to be done. And in many, many instances, that's not how it goes. And it goes straight to the homeowner, it goes straight to the taxpayer. I'm a councilman here who really, really, really worries about our taxes. I promise you that. So that is always going to be my last resort. So unless that can be done, I'm going to be frank, then I don't know if the lights can happen. Unless we can get them for a great deal, we have to look at other avenues and other resources.
Yeah, a little bit. If the lights were able to come back up, what would be the time frame for it to come back up?
Yeah.
You each have 1 minute.
Okay. In terms of a time frame, that's prediction. At this point, it's a little premature. First, we have to seek out that funding and seek out these avenues. I think it's a possibility, but I think it's a little premature to put a time frame on it. I'd like to see it happen as soon as possible, to be quite honest. But that's being absolutely honest with you. It's a little premature to put a time frame on it.
I'm in complete agreement with Das. I mean, it's an arduous process. It takes some time. Yeah, we wouldn't really be able to say it, but hey, this has to be done as soon as possible. As a person who did play sports in high school, I mean, and in all the functions, all the amazing functions that happen in the school fields, I mean, we need them. So we would work as fast as humanly possible.
During the mayoral debate, all three candidates discussed how school safety is of the utmost importance. They all felt that the police department is working very closely with our schools. If they were definite ways to end school shootings, then these tragic events would stop happening. However, it is very important to have a plan against these attacks. Arming certain teachers and having armed security guards are a few of the ideas that has been presented over the past year. Can you specifically identify your ideas for increasing the safety of our students?
As a person who does not like guns at all, I think they're terrible. I would be very reluctant of arming a teacher, with a gun. But any other security measures that we could do with the police department, the professionals, the people who are trained in using firearms, I would wholeheartedly agree we should do that. I would also ask the student body to please be as vigilant as possible. As Mr. Fahori said, I mean, we really have to see, we have to be a community. We have to, make sure that our fellow students and fellow community members, if we see something and see there's something happening, somebody has to go anonymously to the management, the principal, assistant principals, to really see if they could stop it before it happens. Of course, we should have a tight protocol, when it comes to who could enter the building. The one thing that I would be open to which is kind of a shame that we live in a world like this today, is I've seen these contraptions where you could like lock the doors where nobody, where they can't get in. They put it on the top hinge and the bottom, maybe, we can maybe consider doing things like that as a safety measure, but I would be very, very reluctant of giving a teacher a gun. They got extensive education in learning to teach, and I mean, there's a very good chance that an accident can happen. A lot of times when it comes to guns, the more they're around, the worse it can be. So those would be my main three ways that I think that we could, help protect the students.
I'd have to say, truly without divulging any information that would compromise the police and student safety and the things that are in place, I have to tell you that I am confident and satisfied with the measures that are in place at this time. However, one of the key things I would encourage you as students, if you feel unsafe, please express these concerns to your teacher, express them to your principal, and if need be, go to the Board of Ed. One of the things that I've been working on is I've been in the schools, been mentoring GSA, working with the marching band, and I really try to do things to make myself accessible and seen by the students so they feel confident in coming to speak to me. It's really important to be able to have a conversation with your elected officials, and please, if you want to, come and talk to me. I'm here to be your voice. And as was said, it's true. You are the key, truly the key to the safety there. Your eyes and ears on the ground level make a big difference. So please, it's true. If you say something, see something, say something. Don't be afraid to speak up. And again, if you need someone to speak to, I'm here for you.
If you, how do I put this? Okay. What's one way that you think that would be a good idea to stop these tragic events from happening? Like something to just improve the school, have the doors locked, extra security. What do you guys think?
Well, I did mention one of the things about securing the doors in classrooms. That would be something that'd be worthwhile. Maybe we could consider looking at our camera monitoring system, to really see if there's any strategy we could come up with there. But just as Thas said, I mean, really, we need people to be part of that monitoring system as well. Need you to come to, us, anybody you feel comfortable with. And the minute you give, we get that information, we have to take swift action and sit with the student or whomever, maybe keep an eye out, but not in a way that would make them feel uncomfortable, but in a way through maybe camera monitoring or whatever, or counseling. Thanks.
One of the things, since you asked that question, I would like to do is have a conversation with our police department as far as some ideas from professionals as to something else we could do. I am not for necessarily doing some of the things that, in terms of adding locks on doors, in terms of locking the school down. I think that may be part of the cause of a lot of all your students' anxiety. I know that would give me anxiety. It's come to a point which is sad that students are experiencing this thing where you're the good people and you're in jail. And that's not right. You should be able to walk freely. This shouldn't be happening, but it is. So we have to look at some other avenues so that you feel safe and secure and also still free to come and go. That you're not the ones on lockdown. So I would be glad to have that conversation with the police department or anyone else to find some ideas. Thank you.
Obviously, a hot button topic in Roselle Park is property taxes. As leader in Roselle Park, people are going to look to you for a way to ease the current tax burden. New development and redevelopment in Roselle Park is vital to generating tax revenue. This tax revenue can lead to a reduction in taxes and help residents keep more money in their pockets. What are your specific plans to make this happen?
I think one of the key plans and one of the things we're presently doing right now is really making a push on our economic development, developing more ratables, and the development in town is what's going to lower the taxes ultimately. We saved $180,000 this year just on changing an insurance carrier. And again, the economic development director, having something like that in place is something we professionalized, having someone being able to look for new businesses and bring business into town and help to rebuild and build up the present businesses so that we can increase our tax base. We're also searching for, and we've been working diligently with looking for shared services. I've been a part of spearheading that. We've done things in Kenilworth, Clark, Garwood, Fanwood, and Cranford also. And this year, our council has opened a dialogue with the Board of Ed, looking at shared services as well as working together with new school programs and public safety initiatives. So those are key elements to actually lowering the property taxes, and we are moving forward right now with making those moves.
No, this is your 2-minute response.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, do you really think your taxes are going down? Seriously. Every year our taxes have gone up. There's not been one year where it's even stayed flat, as far as I know, in the last decade. I agree with my opponent here. It's two sides of the equation. You got to bring in revenue, and you got to lower our expenses. So let's speak about the bring in the revenue side, all the properties. When I look at a property, I look at it like a businessman. I say, how much revenue is it going to bring, and how much will it expend? How do you figure out how it's going to expend? What is the population increase going to come from that specific lot, and what services are they going to use? I don't know if you've noticed, but all the developments that have been greenlit or are currently being built are very heavy on the residential side. Residents, when you increase residents, guess what happens? You increase your costs. So that is not revenue in my mind, because unless it's bringing in pure revenue and it's not costing any, if there's not a lack of people and they're utilizing government services, sewage, police, and the main big one, schools, then it's not bringing in revenue. Is it beautifying the lot? Absolutely, and that's something we definitely need. So what I say is, when we're looking on the revenue side, bringing in more revenue, we need better deals. We need less residential, more commercial. And if the developers say that, well, we can't do that, then you walk away. That's how a real negotiator negotiates, and I don't see that here. Thank you.
A follow-up? If there's no follow-up, so you each have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Well, the ratio, that might be true, but the development is that we're working on is something that it's all mixed use. We are pushing hard to make sure that actually that we're in negotiation now for the next development, and that one we're working on trying to bring down the amount of units that are going in, because that is key to having more commercial and fewer in terms of residential. Aside from what I'd like to see more of too is more residential that is ratables, actually sales of condos as opposed to apartments. It is true, we need to do more negotiating, and we are. We have that opportunity right now before us. You know, one thing that's I'm, I think, losing my train of thought here, is key, is, again, as I said, is moving ahead with the development of the town and bringing up what we have and future development. Thank you.
Well, mixed use. I love mixed use. I agree. But from the deals that I've seen, the only mixed use property that I've seen that, in my mind, from at least from an outside perspective, that seems like it's going to produce a lot of money, is the Mimi's lot. Mimi's is going to have a 9,000 square foot restaurant and 24 units. So you have to look at that. Small residential, lots of commercial. When I look at the Mimi's lot, I see 2 units. 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 I see The other major development that's coming here, that you see the wood pillars being built as we speak, have 213 units and 5,000 square feet in commercial space. Not well negotiated. So I come here because I want to change that ratio, because I want our town to be a town that is going to attract top-line people. I want our real estate values to go up. Does that make me terrible? We need that. Our real estate values are stagnant. So as a first-time homeowner, I want our homes to start doing well. It's too loud. Oh, sorry. I'll put it over here.
Now, two of our panelists are going to ask a question directed to one candidate. That candidate will have 2 minutes to reply. The other candidate will have a 1-minute rebuttal. Okay. Natalie will ask the first question to Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Shipley, like many towns, Rosa Park is a changing community. Crimes occur every day and are committed by people that don't even live here. On many college campuses, there are phones that have been set up that directly link to a security station for immediate response if a student is in danger. While installing telephones like these around town might be a little out of reach at the moment, there are other ways that students and residents can feel safer in their own community. Perhaps a smartphone app that could send a signal to the police station, or even a program where a teenager can call a designated number to the police station for a ride if they are out late and feel that they may be in danger. What are your thoughts on those ideas, and please share your own ideas for increasing the safety of our citizens?
That is a great question. One thing I have to say about Roseville Park is that it's a wonderful community, and from my experience has been a safe community. But you're absolutely right, that is a major issue in terms of making sure that we are all safe and there's a way to reach our first responders in the case of an emergency. So in terms of that app, I think that's a great idea. In the process of, looking forward, I'm hoping soon to unveil an app that will connect the town more to the borough, and also we can see about doing that with the police. I think in terms of just one thing to make the town safer is just make sure that is really double checking on our lighting and making sure the town is well lit and these lights are up and running, all of them in place. The other thing too is if you're in an area where your lights are dim or something, please let us know so that we can call PSE&G and have some brighter lights put in. Again, I also encourage you, the students and all the citizens here, that if you have these issues and you have these ideas, please come forward. This is one thing we all depend on and talk to and say, well, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? But it is a we thing. We, as council people, are citizens, residents here in town, and we also look to you for your ideas, because there's a lot of very well-educated, smart, inventive people here in this town, and we all need to come together and share our ideas to make these things happen. Thank you.
One thing I would like to add, I recall seeing there was like a program out there where if you had like a camera system at your home, it would register with the police department and they'd be able to, you know, scour the tape to see what's happening. I think that should definitely be something we should consider honing in on. What you said regarding that app, that sounds amazing. I mean, this is the world we're going into. And I'm 36 years old, so as much as I grew up with a smartphone, the stuff that I hear from the younger generation, I'm telling you, these apps, these new things, incredible. I mean, and I'm trying to keep up. I don't know about Snapchat. I just heard about it the other day. But please, like, if you wouldn't mind, you know, give us some insight, give us some good ideas, and you know, let's speak about it. Just as Stas said, because we don't know everything. So, you know, on that end, you know, with the apps and just the newest things that are out, please, you know, we need some insight. But that's what I would say with the camera systems in the houses.
Okay. Rachel will ask a question. Mr. Matthew will answer. Mr. Shipley will have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Mr. Matthew, a strong community will have a strong relationship between its citizens and law enforcement. The Roseville Park East-West basketball game is one of the great events that helps to do this. This relationship can be made even stronger while students are in the high school and are more in touch with today's news stories and things that are reported on by the media. What are some of the programs and activities that you would like to see happen between officers from the Roselle Park Police Department and students at the Roselle Park High School?
Well, I gotta say, that East-West basketball game that I've seen, I want to play in it so bad. I like to play basketball, I still kind of do, but, you know, programs with regards to, you know, connecting the police with the students, I mean, community policing is becoming a new thing. I think it's very important for, policemen and women to get to know their community and engage with everyone. They should know everybody by name and by face. So, I mean, anything the Board of Ed would be open to, having maybe like some sort of school, dances or something like that, where they would be around and we could all hang out and just talk. I mean, that would be something I would definitely be open to. But I would say my opponent here he's the man when it comes to big social events with the arts and everything. He does an incredible job. So I'm going to defer to him right now with that response.
I was going to just say I'm in agreement with Mr. Matthew in terms of the East-West basketball game. It's a great event, and I'd like to see more of those things happen. I think the Roselle Park, I think you'd be in agreement that the Roselle Park Police Department has done a lot of great programs and events with the students. And so I'm going to push it back on you also in terms of the students. What would you like to see happen with the Roselle Park Police Department or any other organization in town, for that matter, that would better your relationship, make you feel more comfortable, give you more information? That's helpful to know what it is that you want and you need. So I would definitely encourage that.
Okay, thank you to our panelists for their great questions. We are now going to take a brief intermission. You will have an additional 5 minutes to get your audience questions in. Please give them to Kathy, who is standing in the black sweater in the back, and we will be back here soon. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. For the third part of our debate, our panelists will be asking questions that were submitted by the audience. In interest of full disclosure, the questions were evaluated by the panelists and the debate team. They were grouped into topics, and the questions were then selected out of a bag by the panelists themselves. So these are actual questions submitted by actual audience members. We will have, depending on how quickly we run, we will have at least 2 audience questions asked with the potential of 4 questions to be asked. The first question will be directed to Mr. Shipley. He will have 2 minutes to answer the question. Mr. Matthew will then have 2 minutes to answer the question. The panelists will have a chance for a follow-up and then a 1-minute rebuttal from each candidate. Okay, so we have our first question. Mr. Shipley will answer first.
Why does no one want to share services with us, as said in mayor debate?
Why does no one want to share services with us? Well, that's not true. We are seeking shared services. We did with Kenilworth. It just happened that there were some circumstances where it didn't work out, but we are in the process of looking at doing shared services with fuel, doing shared service with the trees. We are in talks right now. We are having conversations with the Board of Ed, as I said, with mayor and council. We're doing shared services with between the two of them, with school projects, with student programs, and we are, continue to look at different things that the borough is doing where we can share services with others. This is something that it's actually a new initiative that we've been working on. It hasn't been done in the past, and we are moving forward to see that we can do that. The one thing I'm looking forward to in 2019 is having a shared service agreement with another town in this year?
I want to say that, yes, Roselle Park in the past has not shared services. I would say that's, to a large extent, is what has made our taxes go up. And while I hear some things happening, I come here, coming from a background in vendor management. I want to be a candidate who could help with these negotiations. I think we're due for it, and if we really, really want to control our spending here, I mean, it's not only about shared services, but even when you put contracts out for bid, there are certain contracts that Roselle Park nobody even wants to bid on because we're so small. In business, you could even look at it like just a regular contractor comes to your house. If you told your regular contractor, I just want one door fixed, most will say, no, it's not worth my time. We, as a town, need to really, really hone in on creating real partnerships with our neighbors, and use the power of scale in order to get good contract negotiations. I think I can offer that with my experience and my education, and that's it.
In the mayoral debate, candidate Hokinson said some towns didn't even call back when they were called about shared services.
We can have a 1-minute answer to that follow-up. She's just confirming that it was said that other towns did not want to share services with us.
Well, that may have been the case, but we do have towns with which we will be sharing services with, and that I'm confident of. As I said, we did have we've had discussions with Kenilworth, and we are about to enter into new discussions. In fact, I am scheduled to have a meeting with Kenilworth for talking about fuel on Monday.
Mayor Hokinson did say that, and as I'll say again, that's why I'm running, and that's why I'm running with, our Democratic team. We're young, new blood, and I think we will actually get it done. Unlike what I've seen in the past, I don't think that when it comes to shared services and vendor management, it's not been up to par. And again, that is what is affecting our taxes. That's a part of it anyway.
Zach, you have the next question. Mr. Matthew will answer first.
There are a lot of apartments going up in town. I'm very concerned about the impact this is on our, I am very concerned about the impact of this on our already crowded school, front face. How will you address this problem? Thank you.
Great question. With the current properties that are possibly in the pipeline, we're looking at a 13% increase in population. I'm quoting the Roselle Park News. It could be more. You should be concerned. I'm extremely concerned. As a person who wants to have kids and wants to put them in the school system, I don't want my classroom size smaller. I want my classroom size smaller. That translates into good education. And I feel that, the old leadership here that seems to be the go-to move when it comes to development, is just put up a really big apartment. As I said before, that Meridia thing that it's being built as we speak with the big pillars, that's 213 units. 30% of them, I don't know if you know this, many people don't, 30% of them are 1-bedrooms with dens, which is basically a 2-bedroom. 30% are 2-bedrooms, and 30% are 1-bedrooms. If each of those, if 50% of those had one school child, schools are going to get packed. And that's just one of at least 10 developments that are coming. So, as I've said, we need a councilman who's going to push for less units and more commercial. Period. I don't, looking at these deals coming through, I was concerned, and I'm very, very concerned. I don't see any, the main thing everybody asks for is stores, yet I don't see any places where they're putting commercial spaces to put these new stores. If you didn't know, if all the stores that we have now, they're all filled. There's maybe like 2, 3 that are not filled. But obviously we want more things. We want cooler things. I know the young people tell me that all the time. And what I'm here to do is I'm going to do my damnedest to get these stores in. Use my professional credentials, my network. I mean, I work in real estate, if you didn't know. So I will be calling everybody I know to see what we can do.
I think this is a serious issue also, looking at the population growth and looking at density. One of the things that happened in terms of when this first thing went in, it was also something that was pushed through by the Democrats in the previous 2 years, previous administration. The one thing I want to say is I just want to ask Mr. Matthew, in terms of all these ideas and all these connections, where was he when all this was going on in terms of actually offering this to the town, offering his talents, offering these ideas, and doing this before he runs for office? And being a community member, this is exactly what we need, is some fresh ideas, some fresh connections. But, you know, all of a sudden it's here now, but where was it before?
Well, no rebuttal? Sorry.
The panelists can ask a follow-up? No? A 1-minute rebuttal.
Well, when Meridia 1 came up, Rob Matthew was a citizen, and he actually came to the special meeting, spoke to Thas on their side, told them that I'm very concerned about this property, and I'm very concerned about the pilot, because I don't know if you also know, that property is getting a 30, not a 5, because they could be as low as 5, a 30-year tax subsidy. Also, you could look it up. I think it's in the YouTube channel. When they had a special meeting, I was on the mic and I said I have extreme concern about this property, that it could add school children into our property. And then they always cite some study from Rutgers stating that there'll only be five children. I doubt it. So that's where he was, and now he's here instead of being on the sidelines and, you know, saying a few things on the mic. And of course, I said a lot of things on social media, giving my assessments. I decided to run.
1 minute.
You know, I've just nothing to say.
Nothing to say? Okay, thank you.
It's okay.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Natalie?
How will the next 3 years be different than the last 3? Will you make a difference?
Yes, I will make a difference. We will make a difference. And I say this because I am one councilman, one vote, but I have ideas, and we all work together to move this town forward. It's all of us together, and I'm really excited about what this council has been doing in terms of all the different initiatives to lower taxes, to clean up the town, and even the development. Yes, we do need to look at the density, and we are about to go into negotiation. So if things don't go our way in terms of something for the town, yes, we will let them go, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm excited about moving forward with the town, all the economic development with the new director, with pushing forward with the arts, all the work that I've been doing with the schools, with the students, and I'm looking forward to seeing some great improvements in town and being a part of it.
Just to track back about, the Democrats voted for it. Yes, I am a Democrat, but I'm an individual. I vote with my heart and my mind. And regardless of Democrat or Republican, with the experience I have, the ideas I have, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to push for the best deal for us. The taxes are going nuts. We don't have the stores that we asked for. And I just, even like just things like the medians on Westfield Avenue are atrocious. I mean, I'm like embarrassed by things like that, the sidewalks, etc. There are certain things in the pipeline, I will say, but I'm going to make sure when I'm in there that we actually follow through. We've had multiple master plans. We don't follow through. We've had multiple proposals of businesses that were ready to put in a rateable, and we then push them away and put up apartments. Most recently, we had the storage unit. There was no pilot, no nothing, straight ratables, and it was made in a way where it looked like an office building, so you could say that, oh, I could walk to the office. It looked nice. It had a clock on it and everything, and the current people voted no. And I don't know if you know, the people who voted no is the Municipal Land Usage Board, and that is appointed by the council. They symbolize the old thinking in Roselle Park. We need new thinking. We need to move this place forward. We need businesses. We need the right developments. That's why I want to run. I'm sick of being on the sidelines. I'm sick of saying what we can do and this and that and whatever and going online and whatever. I'm here to push us forward as best I can. And if I don't get it done, kick me out. That's all I can say. The power's it's with you folks. Vote me out if I don't get it done. But I swear that's what I'm looking for.
Do you have a follow-up? Yep.
Which specific project do you believe will bring in the biggest revenue for Roselle Park?
Well, when you look at development, I think space is a big piece when it comes to Roselle Park. The Sullivan lot is close to a 4-acre lot. That, in my opinion, if done correctly, could bring tons of revenue. If not that one, it's Romaroski. That's a huge property. And then the third piece would be the Ryan property, the property around the train station. Those are the three biggest. I would have to do a really, really deep analysis to give you exact numbers, but those are the top three. And those are the top three that we, as Roselle Parkers, should really be watching and making sure that we get the best deal possible and get as much revenue as possible. And like I said, not expend costs as much as possible by attracting the right people who live in the places, people who don't have kids. That's what I mean by that. So they don't fill up the schools. And of course, having more of the revenue coming from commercial component of these properties.
Well, I'm excited to see that one of the developments would be also the development around the train station, and also the development at the Hunter property. Those I think have great potential for bringing in income for ratables. I also think the Meridia property, like I said, right now we're in negotiation for it. The previous proposal is something that I was totally against. One thing I would really encourage people to think about is that in doing these things, it's not something that's just, if you don't like it, it's going to come down tomorrow. This is something we're going to have to live with. And the first proposal was to put in an auto zone. That, to me, is not something that's going to encourage and build up the downtown. It may bring in some business, but everything is not money. It's also quality of life. And as far as the storage place, why would you want that?
Right. Thank you to our panelists for all of their questions. We are now going to clear the dais. Kathy Lloyd is going to come up and moderate the last section of questions.
Good evening. Let me see if can you hear me okay? Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
This portion is the fun part where you gentlemen get to ask each other a question, and the other one will follow up. First up will be Thos to ask Mr. Mathau the question. He will respond, and Mr. Shipley, you can respond after that with the rebuttal. So, Mr. Shipley, go first.
Okay, thank you. So, recently, Mr. Mathau, in a political flyer that was mailed by you and your party criticizing me for raising taxes, what do you say about your running mate, Councilman Joe Petrosky, who raised property taxes for the last 5 years? And what do you say about the Board of Education, who raised taxes? And what do you say about, specifically about Board of Education member Joe Signorella, who also raised property taxes, who you mentioned in your interview as someone you referred to as a colleague on the board?
Well, when it comes to taxes, you could mention Joe Petrosky, but as I said before, I'm an individual. So what I'm here to talk about is what I can do to help lower taxes. And I pretty much, I think, put it out there, what I'm trying to push for. I'm not here to talk about what's done in the past or etc. I'm here to talk about what we can do. Because the taxes have been higher in Roselle Park. And I think everybody in this room could completely agree that what we're doing is not working. So I think we need people such as myself and Joe Sig, that is, to come in with a new perspective. And that's what basically my main thesis is here. We need to think out the box and have new ideas to bring this town forward, or we're going to keep going down the same track. And it's going to get to a point where this town it's going to be very unattractive. I'm sorry to say, not to bring in fear, but it's quite a possibility. And as a homeowner here, that worries me a lot. It really does, because I love this town. I love the people that I've hung out with and got to know. I love the small community feel, and I want this to continue. But you tell me if our taxes continue to go up way more than our neighbors, and if our property values just stay stagnant, if not go lower, you tell me that's going to be a good situation?
Mr. Shipley, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Well, as you said previously, you just asked the audience, do you think your taxes are going to go down? So that's an interesting perspective, as if you really don't see any potential to lower them. The other thing, too, is it's not in the past. This is in the present. What I find interesting is that you're going to look at me as one person that raised these taxes, which is not true. We are a council. We are a group doing the work of the people the best we can. In terms of the council voted on the budget, which you've been to the budget meeting, said we're doing a great job and like the process and had no problem basically with what we're doing. The other thing, too, is we are moving forward. We are have fresh ideas, and I think doing some great things. In terms of what I really find interesting is what you've put out there as your fresh ideas are exactly what we're doing. They're our ideas that are already happening.
Mr. Mathau, you have a question for Mr. Shipley.
Sure. Mr. Shipley, what do you think of the preliminary Fenmore proposal, and what would you propose to improve upon it?
The Fenmore proposal.
Fenmore Properties proposal.
I think pretty much it's a stable idea, and something that right this moment, I can't think of anything that I would propose to improve upon at this moment.
Mathau, you want to rebuttal?
Yeah, I want to help a fellow colleague. So the Fenmore Properties preliminary proposal was, and this is what I mean is the problem here. It's Romaroski. They proposed 218 apartments, 33 will be affordable, 2,000 square feet will be allocated to commercial. If you want, you could put a museum there, they said. It'll be 4 stories in height, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I need specifics. I need expertise here. This is why I'm running. I am a real estate professional. I've worked for 2 prominent companies in the real estate division. I don't think this is great. Again, commercial space. Every property here, tons of apartments, little drop of commercial. We need to bring those 2 lines closer so that Roselle Park will thrive. 2,000 square feet space is a pizzeria. That's just to give you a concept of how large 2,000 square feet space of commercial property is. So I wanted specifics, but that's what I have to offer.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We're going to move on to the closing statements, and I believe you each have 2 minutes, and I believe Mr. Shipley will be going first.
Okay. I would first like to thank our debate organizers and especially the high school debate team. My first 2 years in council were difficult. They were met with national headlines, bickering amongst members, and behind-the-scenes meetings with developers. And my true concern is a return to these times. I spoke out when the opposition tried to hire an administrator without knowledge. Without your knowledge. I spoke out to have more public meetings about redevelopment, fought for more transparency, to notify you about what we are doing before we vote. And my goal has been and will continue to be transparency and an open government. Being a councilman is hard. Once involved, you are immediately subject to political and social media attacks, and it's discouraging to people who may want to stand up and do good for the borough. So I'd like to direct my closing remarks to the students that were here today. I say, have courage, be brave, and get involved. What we need in Roselle Park, the state and our nation, is more good people to get involved. It's not always about protest and social media messaging. It's being knowledgeable and about how your government works, knowing your representatives and meeting them face to face. Be passionate about your causes. Have constant dialogue, especially with people whose opinions you don't agree with. And in today's environment where voices of extremes seem to carry the day, it's your voice, our voices, that need to find a place where we can agree and disagree respectfully. For ours is a government for the people and by the people, and that includes you, the students. Your participation here tonight gives me hope that your voices will be the new generation of reason and a brighter future for us all.
Mr. Matthew?
Ladies and gentlemen, I really thank you for coming here. You know, I'm here because, as I've said, I'm sick of sitting on the sidelines. When I met Joseph 1 and 2 here in Roselle Park, I did my research. I saw that, for instance, Councilman Petrosky did vote for the 4-store lot at Sullivan. Yes, the auto zone wasn't a great thing, but it could have been built upon. But it was a commercial-only lot. I saw that as a pure rateable, something that's not going to ruin the schools. We have a lot of properties in the pipeline, and from what I'm seeing, the precedents that's been sent, 30-year tax subsidies that now we can't walk away from, large density where I don't even feel that the residential counts are being negotiated down. A DPW building that's already financed, that's between $1.5 and $2.5 million. You know, we talk of, well, you know, this is the lowest tax increase we've seen. Well, there it is. We can't afford it. The town can't afford it. We can't get a Cadillac right now. It's in my opinion, irresponsible. I come here coming from a background. I worked in economic development. I worked for 2 prominent companies. I work in the real estate division for 2 prominent telecom companies. I want to come here and I want to renegotiate. I want to be able to help in the negotiation process with my colleagues. It's not just about me. Like you said, it's about all of us. I think I could provide great insight, and I really hope you give me and the team, because without the team, Joseph Petrosky and Joseph Signorello, we have no shot of change.
Thank you, gentlemen. As we move forward at this very last part, I'm going to ask everyone to stay seated until we finish our closing remarks. I don't see Saul in the room. If someone could ask him to come back, please.
There you go.
Once again, I want to tell everybody, as publisher for Tap Into Roselle Park News, for me it's been a real pleasure to work with Saul Kirsten and Roselle Park News to bring these debates to your community. We couldn't have done it without the great team, and I wish I'd like them to come up, of Jenny Lichtenwalner, Jessamine Dukes, I got that right, Deborah Singleton, and I don't think Nia, but Nia is here tonight, but Nia Travel, also, who they all came together to make this event as informative as possible, and they did a really good job. I also want to thank the Roselle Park debate team, and Rachel Leone, Megan Mooney, Natalie Tribbiano, Zacharia Vargas, and of course our instructor, Mr. Jonathan Sieberlight, for volunteering their time and working very hard helping us on the second debate. These people put a lot of work into this. If you knew how hard they worked, you know, there was a lot of conversations back and forth. And I also want to give a big thank you to all of the candidates that participated in both debates. And they answered some very tough questions, and hopefully we gave the residents some insight to help them decide who to choose on Election Day. We also want to thank you, the community. Whether you were here in person or watching us later on TV, we hope that you appreciate the professional and fair debate that we presented once again, and we thank you all for watching. Lastly, on a personal note, while it has been a real privilege for me to be part of these debates, I can attest personally to the fact that as reporters, we give a lot of ourselves every day. It requires a lot of our time, and that is usually spent at meetings and events, and that is only part of our job. Once we go home, there's hours and hours still away from our families, doing research, spending countless hours in front of our computers, and writing stories while our phones are basically and constantly going off, yes, even during our dinner. For the last 5 years, Saul Kirsten has been in the forefront with his organization, Roselle Park News. This was a job that he took on for no pay. And the only fact he did this was because he cared so much about this community that he sacrificed countless hours away from his family, all for the good of this Roselle Park community. Saul has recently announced that as December 31st, Roselle Park News will no longer be in service as he moves on to another chapter in his and his family's lives. At this time, I want to ask everyone to stand up and thank Saul and his wife Elizabeth for all they have done in our community, everything they've contributed. For everything they have contributed over the years. And I just want to say good luck, Saul, and your family, and we wish you nothing but the very best. We thank everyone, but we have one special presentation. And thank you.
A small parting gift for you, so you never forget us, for the sake of Any words? Saul?
Oh, words,
Saul, any
please.
words?
Come on.
On the spot.
Thank you. Stay involved. This is your home.
Thank you. Have a good night.